Don't scratch your eyes. You really are seeing it. Media prediction for the new season, 12th. For the first time in Guernsey history, we're not predicted to get relegated. So I guess the team's getting better. And of course, last episode, we made sure the team got better. If you missed yesterday's transfer special, you should go watch it. £50 million spent, lots of wheeling and dealing, moving on some squad players and smashing our club record transfer to bring in Alessandro Coppo, who, I mean, let's be honest, he's blooming good for a 19-year-old. He's joined us for £34.5 million, but of course with his addition and also the addition of Rios for £6 million, I am still umming and ahhing about what formation do we play. Really, we have two options. We could go with this 4-2-3-1. You can see from the squad depth screen here on the squad planner. We have depth. We have the players to play this system, but of course we also have the players and the ability to play the system that we played last season, the three at the back, the four-man kind of setup with two defensive mids and wing-backs. I still don't know which decision I'm going to go with. I feel like I won't know until the first game of the season. Speaking of which, that first game of the season is the Conference League in a little over a month's time. We're in the qualifying rounds, just as a little reminder. We'll have two qualifying rounds to go through. We've got that to look forward to tomorrow. That's right, rogue European away days await with a year in the Conference League, but before then, transfers to be done, we've got money to burn, players to sell on. Before all of that though, let's make sure to run the intro. Now, since last episode, one little bit of transfer news just to confirm. Machete, he is going to Feyenoord. That transfer has been confirmed. Of course, the South African player, someone we picked up for £350,000 back in the Championship. We're now selling him on for 19.75 million. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty good business. Yes, he's homegrown at club, but at 22 years old, inconsistent, doesn't like big matches, nowhere near the first team in terms of overall quality. Some pretty nice money received. Of course, last episode we left things with a load of players having already been sold. One other player we're trying to move out is Jorge Gutierrez, who is hopefully on his way to Greece. If that transfer goes through, that will be a further £14 million. So with that in mind, we've got about £78 million to spend on the first team, and as I sit here right now, I don't know where we spend it, to be honest. I have been experimenting with the team a little bit in terms of how I might line up depending on the formation that we go with. If we were to start the year with a 4-2-3-1, it would look something like this with Coppo and Fullentin in at the back. Rios would be the centre-back that makes way and moves to the bench as part of the back three. And in the final third, I'd be very tempted to start Alanis this year. He and I believe Gaspar would be the two players that would be fighting out for that lone striker role. I love Gaspar. He's the proven quantity, but I don't know. 22 years old. My scouts think he's probably hit his potential now. And if he isn't going to get any better, at 31 to 42 million pounds, would it be mad to consider selling him? I'm not sure. On the flip side, if we start with the three at the back, it's kind of simple. Alanis or Gaspar moves off the team. Rios comes in to play that ball-playing defender at left centre-back. And this is how we'd line up. I like both these equally. I was meant to go away since last episode and make a decision. Instead, I've come back and realised I think both could work. I think ultimately this year we are going to be experimenting a little bit. Which, I mean, on the one hand, I think we can afford to do a little bit more this year. With a media prediction of 12th, clearly the game thinks that our overall quality of our squad has improved, and I do believe it has. But on the flip side, with the season ticking over, the board expectations for the season have come out, and the board expect a mid-table finish as well as latter stages of the Conference League. Given how competitive the Premier League's been the last few years, a mid-table finish is not super straightforward. I mean, it should be for us, but I mean, I thought it was going to be more straightforward last year than it ended up being. If there aren't going to be question marks over my performance due to experimentation this year, I suppose the one good bit of news here is the board absolutely liked the signings that we made last episode, as did a lot of you in the comments. The comment section was uncharacteristically nice. I say that like you're all writing mean, horrible things about me on the internet. I mean, one or two people do, but for the mass majority of you, you're good eggs. So just looking at our first team as things stand right now, we have a 26-man squad. And of course, this squad is just built for the future. It's a team built full of potential. Potential I'm hoping that we can capitalise on. But ultimately, with £78 million to spend, there is room to do a bit of wheeling and dealing, and I suppose I have to look at some of the players taking up first team spots who are slightly older, who maybe don't have that potential to fill, and think, is there a way I can do better than the players I've already got in those areas? And I suppose when you look at star ratings, you look at the actual ability, there's two areas of question. The first is, can I do better than Florentine as a third centre-back option? Is there a better player out there? And equally, could we move Florentine on for money? Of course, we accepted that bid from Peterborough of £48 million, and he ultimately turned down that move. Everton are still interested in him, so I'm going to offer him out. And the other player that I do have question marks over is Gaspar. I like Gaspar. I love the fact that since he's now turned 22, we can now see if he likes important matches or not. If you didn't know, that's a thing, by the way. Players have to be 22 and then the game goes, hey, they're good or they're bad at important matches. Obviously, it exists before that point. You just can't see it because Football Manager things. But yeah, he loves important matches and he has been a reliable player for us. But we do have a lot of strikers now. I suppose the other player that we could move on is someone like Diallo, who's 21 years old. We signed him for peanuts last year, but he didn't really perform that well. And with a value of £35 million potentially, he could be good to move on. I did promise him I wasn't going to sell him, though, earlier in pre-season. Forgot about that. But promises are made to be broken. The only other area of the team where I could think, yeah, we go out and find a player that can do that would be a really defensive centre mid. Of course, we do have Rojas who can do that, but he is also just the right back of the team. As much as I love Elunga and he was a record transfer, he isn't the best player defensively. He and JV could easily fight it out for the regista role in the team. And if there was a top quality, more defensively minded centre mid that we could play there, I'd be quite happy. Now, when I think of defensive mids, there is one player that springs to mind, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to sign him, and it's Dylan Mothersill. He plays for Chelsea. I think he scored against us once. He's very, very good at 24 years old. His value for an English player who's this good and this young really isn't that unreasonable, and as a more defensive midfielder in our centre-mid setup, he would be very, very good. Should probably point out at this point, last time I scouted him, he had absolutely no transfer interest, so maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. But you know what? Sometimes you got to shoot your shot and hope it's good enough. I'm curious to see how much Chelsea might want for him. Okay, I mean, the estimated value of 31 to 46 million clearly wasn't that accurate. They want £80 million. I'm not paying that much for him. Now, you might be wondering, Jack, why not just sign a striker and not sell Gaspar, not sell Diallo, not sell anyone? The simple answer is that I need to give a route to first-team football for Cadman this year, who has, by the way, just hit 16 finishing, which is very exciting. But also with Alanis joining the team, these are two players who I do want to get into the team more and more. To be honest, there's a temptation just to sell Diallo or Gaspar and not bring anyone in, which might be an absolutely ridiculous, stupid gamble, but equally, if we are going to be switching to this system with one striker, it might make a bit of sense. Of course, the other thing we've got to keep a close eye on is Lemos, who has had a lot of interest in him in recent times. Of course, he has a release clause of £74 million. I'm very tempted to just offer him out for £74 million. I'd see if anyone makes a bid. He's been unhappy for a long time. At the end of this month, he will become homegrown at club, so we can look to sell him on, dreaming of signing him in the future when he decides he wants to come back home. But yeah, it would potentially make sense just to see if there is that kind of interest, because £74 million is quite a lot of money. The difficulty would, of course, be actually replacing him. But with 2 years left on his current contract, not wanting to sign a new deal, and with that release clause looming, it might just be worth accepting our losses and getting as much money as we can now, rather than losing him for nothing and taking a bit of a gamble, keeping him around. Elsewhere, board have set the expectations for the year. I don't think I'm going to touch these. I could tell the board I want to get to the semi-final of the Conference League. But I'll be honest, having only got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League last year, I don't think it's worth the gamble. Good news, team made a bid for Lemos, Peterborough, at £35 million. They've locked it as non-negotiable. I hate Peterborough. We did just set a record this season for the highest average attendances, 18,228. Of course, we were playing in Bournemouth on that occasion. You can see here it does still say our current stadium's Bournemouth. We are due to move back to our actual stadium in 6 days' time. It's going to hold 21,222 fans. And when you look at the first team, you might not have noticed this, or maybe you have, because I know there's Jaime fans out there. Jaime this year is probably just going to be a bit of a super sub option on the bench. Potentially could find himself playing out in the wide areas in situations where needs must as an inside forward. He is a very, very good player, Jaime. Someone who, of course, we got for pretty much nothing. £3.9 million we brought him in for. He's a player who now finds himself on the bench. He's not as good as he was relative to the rest of the team once upon a time. Was a temptation maybe to cash in on him, but with his value low and given the fact that he does have 19 determination, professional personality, his ability to mentor is really, really valuable to us. You can see here he has currently got Alanis Sula and now Alexander Kovacevic all tutoring under him. Hopefully some of his professionalism and determination is going to rub off on them. Did just spot a rather amusing news item pop up. Arsenal trying to sign Setford for 28 million that could rise up to 34 million. Safe to say that during his time at Southampton, he's not been amazing. If he does move to Arsenal for that kind of £34 million fee, for us to get 60 million for him seems absolutely mad. Kind of forgot that I agreed this transfer. Max Aarons for £4 million. Am I actually doing this deal? See, I thought I needed him as a backup right back, but I have realised that obviously we have Rojas, who's learning to play right back and can play right wing back. We have Ryan Hunter that can play right wing back and right back. And, well, maybe I need an improvement on him, but I'm not sure Max Aarons is that. The only other two players I've got who can play right back now are Florentine, who could play right wing back in an emergency. Or alternatively, Coppo could play right back in a back four in an emergency. I mean, he's not terrible at it, but probably not what you want. But equally, I'm not sure that signing Max Aarons for £50,000 a week is necessarily smart. You know what? I'm going to delay it. I can think about it tomorrow or in a week's time. Apparently Warunga wants a new contract. I was talking about selling Warunga last episode. Now he wants a new deal at the club. He's currently on £19,000 a week. I'll tell him that we can't afford it. Okay, he says he really, really wants it. To be fair, he was a player who I did discuss the possibility of selling. But if for no other reason, given the fact he is on not the biggest contract in the world, if we do offer him a new deal, that is going to increase his value potentially, at least in terms of resale value. He still wants to be an important player. I can't give him that. I'll offer him squad player status. He did not like that. How about first team regular? He hates me. Well, it's a good job he's got 3 years left on his current deal. Whilst we're here, mind you, just going to update this. You are a squad player and you are going to have to accept those reduced terms. Okay, he has actually accepted them. So that's good. I mean, in hindsight, I probably should have done that before I offered him a new contract. Probably could have just given him a deal then. I'm looking at our team. I'm looking at our depth. I'm looking at the players that currently aren't on the bench. And whilst we are maybe a midfielder or two short, we have too many defenders, don't we? I think I might try and sell Tejera. I'm going to offer him out for an unspecified amount. I'm just curious to see who might make a bid. He is a very influential player. This might be a stupid decision, but I just feel like it's worth exploring the market. Girona have bid 5.25 million. Never mind. Elsewhere, Manny Wilford's transfer permanently has been confirmed. Very, very happy about that. Of course, just a little bit of a reminder, he's currently with the England national team in the European Football Championships. Unfortunately, he's not yet got a cap for England, but it could still happen. The competition is still ongoing. So I am in the process of trying to sell a couple of players. Baranok is a player who was out on loan at Burnley this year, just gone in League One, wasn't playing that well there. A player we signed for nothing a few seasons ago, just trying to get a few million for him. But with players now returning from loan, I need to see if Samir has any interest in him, because Samir has a load of potential, decent current ability. I don't see a way I could fit him in the team. The only way he could really fit in the team would be to, well, be the defensive midfielder of our dreams. But given the fact he turns 21 tomorrow for his birthday, if I could sell him for 30 million or even 20 million plus, that would be quite good. Our stadium expansion has been confirmed. I'm hoping that means if I now click here, the stadium picture's back. We're no longer in Bournemouth. I feel calm. Is it bad that I immediately want to ask for the stadium to be expanded again? I mean, you know what? You don't get if you don't ask. And just as a little bit of a reminder, our expansion capacity of this stadium is only 28,000. There's a world in which before the season's over and the series is over, we're asking for a new stadium again. I can't believe I'm saying it. Gutierrez has rejected an offer from AEK Athens. This man has just caused me problems. Last episode he rejected West Ham, now he's rejecting AEK. I just want to get £14 million for him and move on. I've had some bids made. Unfortunately, they're both non-negotiable for Gutierrez. 11 million offered by Ajax, which is a guaranteed 10 million, or 7.5 million off Borough to be honest, at that kind of amount, I'd just be tempted to keep him around as an emergency backup. I mean, he's still got 4 years left at the club. I could just keep him here as a prisoner if he doesn't want to accept a reasonable offer. Also, because it's now the first in-game, there might be a few new players transfer listed. The transfer window opens around the world now as well, so there's potentially a few more players available there. One thing I'd like to look at off the rip, actually, is players with contracts expiring in the next year. Sometimes you can get players here for a really, really good price because these players are just going to force moves, potentially leave for nothing. So teams look to cash in on them. I don't really know what we're looking for, though. I mean, what I will say is, first few players I've clicked on, thoroughly underwhelmed. Harley here isn't terrible for Chelsea, but he's not £33 million good, is he? Okay, Bournemouth have made a bid for £12 million for Gutierrez. I'll tell you what, if he doesn't accept that, I'm going to be so angry with him. That is a perfectly reasonable offer, £12 million. He's already rejected West Ham, so I'm not even going to bet on it being a surefire thing, but surely he goes. I have also offered out Samir for an unspecified amount. The biggest offer we've had, it looks like, is £25 million from Young Boys. That is £11 million up front, £5 million in two £10 million instalments. So it's a guaranteed £21 million. Plus, if he plays some games for the Bosnian national team, if he plays league games for them, more money. I'm going to accept that offer. The rest of these offers are a long way off that. But maybe if I accept that offer and offer him out again to other teams for 25 million, maybe there'll be some interest at that amount. I mean, to be honest, if that is the only offer we receive for him, it's still a ridiculous amount of money. Thank you, Young Boys. Yeah, I'll take £22 million guaranteed for this guy. Some sad news. Montero's leaving the club, Machete's leaving the club, and Okeke's leaving the club. Those three players leaving for a combined, £50 million? Pretty happy about that. It's probably worth noting that with Gutierrez hopefully on his way out, Samir on his way out, Machete, Montero too, we are losing 4 squad players in the defensive mid position. That's just maybe something to have on our radar. I say that like we're short on defensive midfielders. Alunga, McKillop, Jaime, Rojas, Kovacevic, and of course also JV, who will be playing defensive mid this year. That's not to say we don't need to get a new defensive mid in. Maybe this is more and more an argument for getting in that top quality defensive midfielder I mentioned. I mean, who is the most expensive defensive mid interested in signing for us right now? It is Nunul. That's definitely not how you say his name. He is not a defensive mid. The fact the guy in green is a defensive mid makes me look like a genius for training Jaime as a defensive mid as far as I'm concerned. Ordinarily, I go and look at the Media Dream 11 for the Championship just to see if there's any bargains. This season, the entire Media Dream 11, with the exception of one player, it's just the Bournemouth squad. Yeah, Bournemouth were a very good team who got relegated. Now, one of their players who they did get relegated with was Matt Carroll. He is a decent little player, available for £34 million. I weighed him up as a centre mid option that, I mean, to be honest, we could potentially still go in and get, but he lacks a little bit in the air. But I wonder, could he be a defensive midfielder? I know he's not the most aggressive, but besides that, you could do a lot worse. We'll get a further scout report on him. I suppose the only issue with him, if you can really call it an issue, is the fact they want £34 million for him, which is not a small amount of money, but he would be a very, very good defensive midfielder. Apparently he might want wages between £91,000 and £120,000. That is going to be, it's a lot. Also, he's 30 years old. He's 30. Do I want to sign a 30-year-old for £34 million? He's not going to be around that long, is he? The other thing we could do is look to play Rojas at defensive mid. I mean, that is a role that he can do. It's a role that he was kind of originally doing before we decided he was a wing-back. Then we bring in a new right wing-back. Because Rojas this year just gone was not amazing at right wing-back, and that's perhaps the understatement of a century. At £11 million, it's not like we invested a load of money. And it would kind of kill two birds with one stone in terms of getting in a good defensive midfielder and strengthening right wing back, which wasn't an area that wowed me this season just gone. Of course, the issue with that is there's a reason that we signed Rojas at right wing back. It's because right wing backs just did not exist of adequate quality. Luca Galina here is not a terrible right back option playing for Leeds United. I say that. He's got 1 assist in the last 2 years. Enrique here is allegedly a right wing back. Don't believe it. Fake news. Barbosa here is a decent little Argentine youngster with 17 long throws. He looks good, not great. Very injury prone, not adaptable, not bad, just not that exciting. I mean, when you compare him with Rojas is just better and 2 years younger as well. I'm beginning to remember why I signed Rojas to play right wing back. There was a reason for that. Have just noticed this happened last year. I can up the scouting range. There might be a few more players show up now. I say that there's no new players, so it's not even made a difference. Right, I've looked for right wing backs. They don't exist. Back to defensive mids. Here I was looking for a defensive midfielder, and instead I've stumbled across Brendan Ward. I don't know why I've rolled the R there. It's a very fancy Irish way of saying Brendan. The Irish language scares me. You guys have some scary names that I'll never say correctly. I'm just going to call him Brendan. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's not really what I'm looking for, and he's not really within my budget, I don't think. But he looks like a fun player. If only I had a bit more money. Let's look at the positives. He has shown up on the player search as a player who'd be interested in joining me. So clearly we are making some progress as a football club. Am I going crazy, or does this guy look really good? João Graça, he plays for Sporting. £37 million is not cheap, but he's only 19 years old, and he could play as a defensive midfielder? Question mark? Maybe. I'm not sure he's the answer to all my problems, but he does look very, very good, and he's got professional personality, really good determination, already capped for the Portuguese national team, and he could play centre-back. Not that I need centre-backs, but he could play right-back in an emergency. Am I about to sign another centre-back? I wouldn't be signing him to play centre-back, to be clear. He would be the defensive mid. Last year, McKillop was the defensive mid. How does he compare with McKillop? I mean, he's not as good going forward, but he is just very, very good. He's valued at 37 million, which is very, very steep, and he might not even be interested in joining us, according to the last scout report I did on him. But he's super consistent. He's capped for the Portuguese national team. We have the transfer budget to afford it, and our current first team is 26 players. I'm really tempted to sign him. There's something about this man. I don't know what it is. There's something about him. £37 million release clause. I don't think there's a better centre defensive mid out there for me to sign. I've got my head in my hand because I can't believe that I'm potentially about to sign another centre-back. He's not going to play centre-back, just to be clear, but he will be the defensive midfielder of my dreams, who could slot in, if need be, in that centre-back position. He wants a minimum release clause of £79 million. How much is he going to want a week in wages? I should have asked his agent before I entered the negotiations. Apparently, 74,000 to 100,000. That's so much. That's so much. I can't do that. Look, okay, release clause. If we get relegated, you can go for £10 million. We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of that. Talk to me. He's talked to me and I don't like it. Oh, this... I really, really want to say I'm not spending money for the sake of it, but there is a small part of me that is spending money for the sake of it. I just think he's really good. I don't think you'd play him at centre-back because of his jumping reach, but there's something about him that I like. I think it's the fact that he's already got good stamina, teamwork and work rate, and they are difficult things to improve. He's already got 16 tackling, 15 marking, decent positioning. His physicals are not bad, and he's playing regular football for Sporting. I'm doing it. I'm signing him. It's £37 million. Basically, we've sold Montero and Machete and signed him. That's how I'm going to view it. And when you view it like that, we've made a profit. It does also give me more coverage at centre-back, which we don't need, but we have it. Interesting. Luis Ganino, who we looked at last summer or the summer before, has just been released. He's an either-footed centre-back, but we actually looked at him as a wing-back option. He could still be a pretty decent backup right-back option. If I was to sign him, I'd probably look to sell on Hunter. I mean, Ganino is definitely better than Hunter, in my opinion. Definitely better, in my opinion. That's not a good, confident statement, is it? I mean, Ganino has the edge, is available on a free. We could then look to move Hunter on. I guess the question becomes, how much does Ganino want? He wants to be a regular starter and he wants to start at centre-back. No one tell him that he's a right-back. You're a squad player. He wants £35,000. That's really not that unreasonable. I'll knock it down slightly, and if other teams come in, I'll nudge it back up. £32,500 for Ganino. I nearly bought this guy for some stupid money. I think he had ridiculous wage demands, which is why I didn't go for him. I think he's good. Hunter has got a little bit of interest in him as well. So if we could sell Hunter on for anything now and bring in Ganino on a free, it'd be more good wheeling and dealing. I'll offer Hunter out for 15 million. He was trying to force a move last year, so maybe we can make this happen. Has kind of just dawned on me, if we sign Ganino, we're not going to need Max Aarons. If I sign Grasser and Ganino, they're both players who I'm not signing to play centre-back, but can also naturally play centre-back. If we get them both in, I'd probably have to get rid of Teixeira or look to loan out Warunga or Volashak. This is tricky. I don't want to loan out Warunga because he is the backup left wing back. Volashak, I really, really like. He was getting regular minutes last year. He's just not going to get regular minutes this year, but he is going to get homegrown at club at the end of the season. I hate dilemmas like this so much. I think for Volashak to develop, I have to give him regular first team football. We've now got 4 homegrown at club players. Even if I get rid of Volashak, Jamfi, Warunga, Big Knot, we'll all get it this year. We've got more players getting it next year. You know what? I don't need Volashak to be homegrown at club. I'm going to offer to loan him out, and hopefully we can get him a really, really good loan move, because he's got some quality to do stuff right now. It's just that for us, with our current squad, with the current situation, he's not going to get near the first team. Okay, we have had plenty of loan offers made here. Are there any particularly exciting offers? Lots of them are squad player offers. Lorient have offered to make him a regular first-team player, as of Udinese. Udinese have a media prediction of 15th in Serie A. Lorient have a media prediction of 17th in Ligue 1, and then everyone else just wants him as a squad player. I could loan him somewhere where he's not going to get regular first-team football, but I think that is the most important thing for him right now. That is the reason I'm loaning him out rather than keeping him around at our own team. So we'll accept those 2 loans. I'm going to reject all the unresponded offers. If the loan doesn't work out for him, I will, recall him and see what we do with him in January. Of all the centre-back options we've got, he's just the one that offers the least amount of versatility. When you compare him with Teixeira, he is probably better overall, but Teixeira isn't going to need the minutes like Volashak needs the minutes. It's not necessarily the move I expected to make going into this episode, but with Ganino available on a free and João Graça also joining the club, I just think it's the most sensible thing to do. Especially if we are going to start the season with the 2 kind of centre-back setup. It's going to mean that Rios is the immediate backup, so Volashak would only ever come in when we rotate the 11 anyway. Yeah, you know what? This is the right decision. I've decided. This has been a really challenging summer transfer window. I've kind of made my own dilemmas for me, and I've now got to solve them. But equally, there is some really interesting decision-making that we are having to do as part of the squad-building process, which I am really, really enjoying. Okay, Brighton and Angers have made offers for Ganino, so I'm going to up our offer slightly. I'm willing to offer him up to £40,000. I don't want to go more than that. I'm hoping that's enough to secure his services. If we can't get him, it's not the end of the world. We'll just obviously keep Hunter around. Tell you what, very interested in that offer. Leicester have offered to loan Volashak as a regular starter at centre-back. I may well take that Leicester move. Leicester were a surprised kind of relegation team last year. They've got a media prediction of 2nd for this year. I think that's the best loan move for him. I'd like to issue an apology to Lorient and Udinese, but I would much rather have Volashak play in the Championship, where I'm certain he'll get regular first-team football for one of the better teams in the league. There are a few more teams making offers for Ganino. I've offered him £40,000 a week. Kind of tempted to offer him more. There's some big teams interested. Apparently Barcelona want him. You know what, Ganino? This is my final offer. I will include a relegation release clause just for you of £5 million. That is a very good deal. You should take that. Not that I'm biased or anything. Now Bournemouth, Leicester and Lens have made offers for Ganino. Why do I feel like I'm not getting him? I'm going to delay this Max Aarons bid again, just because if the Ganino thing doesn't happen, might go and sign Max Aarons. And elsewhere, João Graça has had his work permit application put in. That means he's accepted our contract offer. We might have found our defensive midfielder. The board have rejected my request to expand the stadium. I'm going to beg them. I'll get on my knees. No, too far. Look, come on, change your mind. Never mind. They don't want that. Some massive news here. Graça is signing for us. £37 million. That is, I think, now a new record transfer. For a Premier League club, it's actually still not that much money, really, considering where we're at regularly targeting a top half finish, but it's not an insignificant bit of money. It's a bit of a gamble, but it's the kind of gamble that we can afford to take because of some of the other wheeling and dealing we've done. And you can see it here, officially a record transfer. Coppo, no longer the record deal. I mean, when you compare the two of them, there's not a world of difference between them. Coppo looks really exciting. Graça, for a centre-back, his attributes are just a bit weirdly distributed. But for what we need him to do, As a defensive midfielder, I think he's going to be very, very good. I think he will eventually play as a defensive midfielder on support, but at least to help with kind of his overall development, I think we're going to train him as a roaming playmaker and then put an extra focus on his passing. I think he's going to be a really good player. Grasser comes into play as that defensive midfielder on support. The question becomes JV or Alunga? Who are you picking? Pick your poison for that regista role, or I suppose the more creative centre defensive mid role. It doesn't necessarily have to be a regista. It's very, very close. It's very, very close. I think I would probably go with Alunga to start the season, just because he's more rounded and because he can already play defensive midfielder. But JV could come on in there. Obviously, JV can also play at centre attacking mid, potentially out on the right-hand side of midfield as well. Yeah, Alunga's just a more complete player. I think he's going to be more valuable in the centre of the team. When I look at that team, I think that's a pretty good team to start this season with. I mean, you could start Lemos at advanced forward and then play JV, I suppose, as the shadow striker or the centre mid in behind. That's an option that we could look at. I really want to give Alanis game time too. I really like Alanis. I think he's a great player, and also on this page here, he is our hot prospect, which doesn't really mean anything definitive, but in my head, it means he must be the best player that we have, and I just like the look of him, so I want to give him as much game time as possible. Nevertheless, I do feel like having a proper defensive midfielder longer term is going to really, really benefit us, and I think Grasser could be that man. If I do want to look strictly at star ratings, should Rios start over Florentine? Is Florentine even meant to be in the team to start this year? Is Rios better? As a ball-playing defender, I mean, Rios is just better with the ball at his feet. Florentine, though, is just the better defender, I feel like. Better marking, better tackling, better heading. Slightly worse positioning, to be fair. Oh, it's not clear-cut. I love having these kind of dilemmas, though. This is good problems to have. It's very rare that I go into a season not knowing what my best 11 is or exactly what I should do. The fact that is going to be the case this year kind of excites me in a slightly sick and twisted way. So I asked the board if we could have another affiliate to get young players from abroad in as part of our youth intakes. They've granted that request, and because I've been manager for a while, I get to pick the team. Now, last time we picked up Bromma Poikina, which was a Swedish team, and I went mad selecting all the Scandinavian clubs. Where do we want to get players from this time? So here's all the teams that we could potentially have as an affiliate. Really, I want to get ones with good facilities. Like Randers, I know have, well, I thought they had some good facilities. Turns out they don't. I'm looking here for a team that I recognise. Aruka in the... No, their facilities aren't good. Zelina in Slovakia. I feel like I've had good players from them before. Okay, see, now we're talking. They play in the Europa League. Good training facilities, good youth facilities, really good youth recruitment. That's the kind of team I want. Yeah, you know what? We've never had a Slovakian affiliate before. I want a Slovakian affiliate. Tejera's come to me. He is concerned that Kopo's been signed to replace him. I've got some bad news for you, Lewis. It doesn't need to become a major issue. Competition is healthy. That's what I'm going to tell him. While we're here, though, we probably should just lower his playing time. Fringe player. Don't even need to convince him about lowering it. That's how you know he's just not very good. I don't want to get too carried away too early on, but first game of pre-season, Arsenal at home, playing the new 4-2-3-1. Alanis scores. We come back from behind to win 3-1. I mean, Pepper, who took control of the game, he's a genius, but I deserve credit for the squad building. I've got a good feeling about this season. Some more good news, our affiliation with Zelina has been confirmed. We are going to be paying them £161,000 annually, which... I mean, I hope that means we'll get one good Slovakian player through, otherwise we're paying quite a lot a year. And with that affiliation confirmed, we have another club to add to the growing list of teams that will send academy players to Guernsey to train with us. We've got Jean Nam, who will do the same thing, Bromma Poikina, Central Coast Mariners. I mean, there's going to come a youth intake where we get a Slovakian, an Australian, a Swede, and a South Korean player. Apparently, Alunga is showing promising development. I mean, look at that. Green arrows. He's a regista in the making. I'm getting excited. And elsewhere, Cadman's continuing to show development as well. I was bigging him up for hitting 16 finishing earlier. He is continuing to improve everywhere. Of course, he only signed for us 1 year ago. In that time, he's shown some pretty notable improvements. Remember Blaine Goller? Yeah, he's been out on loan the last few years. Once upon a time, we thought he might be a player alongside McKillop who we could rely on a lot. Played in the championship for us regularly, but on our promotion, just hasn't been anywhere near the first team. Been out on loan at Lincoln the last couple of years. We signed him on a free transfer for Ross County. Developed a little bit, but he's never going to be good enough. We're getting £450,000 for him, which I actually don't think is that bad. So Seb Flegard has decided he wants to compete for first team football at Celtic. I rate that from him. You know what? Respect. He could have gone to Hull and got regular first team football. He wants to fight for it at Celtic. I'll back it. We'll keep an eye on his development. And elsewhere, Samir Ibrahimovic, who I'm not selling because I can't say his name, but it is a consideration. He's leaving the club to go to Young Boys. Transfer may rise to £25 million, but it is a guaranteed £21.5 million total. We will only get £11 million of that up front. Nevertheless, though, I think that's a really, really good sale. We picked him up for £800,000, had a couple of years out on loan, didn't develop as much as we'd hoped, but we get a lot of money for him. And some really cool news here. Ganino, he's been talking to all these other teams. He's had interest from these other teams. He wants to talk to us. If we can offer him acceptable improvements, he will join us. We have proper pulling power. Why does he want 59,000? I'll give you 50,000. He really wants 59,000. Okay. I don't want to nuke the wage budget, but I'll give you £2 million up front. It'd make him the 4th highest earner as a backup, which I don't love. But then again, Greg is on £55,000 as a backup. And the thing with someone like Ganino is, for any other Premier League club, they'd be paying him that 59,000. It's a free transfer. You're going to have to pay more wages for it. I'm going to bite the bullet. Yeah, you know what? We'll sign you for that, mate. I have to say, with all the interest in him, I love the fact that he wanted to sign for us. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Take that Celtic, take that Brighton, take that Bordeaux. Okay, I've got a bit carried away there. So Volashak is going to be heading out on loan to Leicester. That is a really good loan opportunity for him. It's a chance for him to develop well. Hopefully, it's going to work out in his favour because he didn't quite develop as much as I hoped he might over the course of last year. We gave him lots of regular first-team football and he didn't really make the most of it in the Premier League. I think for him, just taking a step down a division might allow him to shine and naturally develop as a result. Okay, Ganino has agreed to sign for us. We have got to wait for a work permit, but that will almost certainly be granted. He is a really good backup right-back option who can also slot in at centre defensive mid and centre-back. With that in mind, with that deal done, I think it's time to try and sell Ryan Hunter. And we've had some actually kind of reasonable bids here. Rangers have offered 10.25 million. I'm going to try and negotiate this up just because we have also got interest from Roma. I'd like 14.5. Maybe I got greedy. Okay, Roma offered a similar amount, but see, I want to negotiate it, but I know they're going to get angry. I'll try 12 million. Okay, maybe I played it too safe. We'll accept that one. And then West Ham, they've come in with 9 million. I'm going to ask for 15. They've locked in 9.75. We're not doing that, but Ryan Hunter on his way out for £12 million. We signed him for £500,000. Last year, he started 4 games, came on off the bench, was not that great for us. We've got Ganino coming in for 3. I think this is just sensible. In a summer with some highly questionable transfers, or no, I wouldn't even say them questionable, just maybe not conventional, this to me just feels sensible. Ganino comes in on a 3, better player overall. Hunter has marginally better physicals and defending, but ultimately, we're selling him on for £12 million. He's a player who's not really developed in his time at the club. If we just look at things here, championship quality player, injury prone. I'm quite happy to get £12 million for him. If he and Gutierrez leave, and I realise here, Gutierrez is now waiting on a work permit, which I hope he gets to go to Bournemouth, or I will be livid. We'll find out tomorrow. But if those 2 players leave us, that'll be £24 million in the bank. We'll have a £60 million transfer budget again. I can't spend the money as quickly as we're getting it back. Good news, we're getting rid of Gutierrez. He turned down West Ham in the Premier League. He's now decided to go to Bournemouth. We received £12 million for him. He's a player who's been a constant pain in the butt. Maybe had a slight consideration to keep him around as a backup right wing back option, but with Ganino coming in, I think we've got a better player coming in for nothing. We signed him for 2.3 million. He achieved nothing with us, besides causing pain for me. Now we get some money for him. Okay, it's official. We've got Ganino. I had my eye on him for a very, very long time. It's not a small contract, but for a free transfer, and our first free transfer, it feels like in a little while, I'm very happy with it. Unfortunately, Max Aarons, who's come up to me an hour later and gone, remember to sign me? No, forget about it, Max. You're not coming. Bye. The other nice thing about actually picking up Ganino is, even if we are a little light at defensive midfielder, he is a player who can slot in there if necessary. That said, I do need to remember he might have to play right wing back this year, so probably should get on with training him to play there. I don't want to get too carried away too soon, but with Rios, Copo, Grassa and Alanis, Ganino as well, and Sula, this might be the best summer transfer window we've had whilst we've been in the Premier League. I really want to believe we made some big steps forward. I want to be competing for top 7 and European football this year in the league. The only thing that could really make me happy now is if Lemos realised, hey, the squad's been made stronger, I want to stay. Don't think that's going to happen though. So with all the wheeling and dealing done, our first team squad now sits at 26 players, which I think is where it started the season. It might have been 27 when we ended last season. Obviously, Hunter on his way out, I have already demoted him down to the under-21s just to get him out of sight and out of mind. I think we're pretty close to being done. I have still got Tyler Forbes, Scott Williams and Gadia just in the youth team, but they all have values so low that I kind of just don't want to sell them. I'm just going to keep them around for the memories. The Euros just finished, by the way. Surprise final. Wales v Germany. Wales, one of the 2 host nations, unfortunately going to win the whole thing. Germany ended up winning the final 2-1. I know I will be asked about it, so here is the group stages. Here you can see groups A to D and group E and F at the bottom here. Of course, if you want to look at it in more detail, you can pause. And for the knockouts, well, you can see what happened here. England knocked out by Switzerland, Wales knocked out Scotland in a battle of the hosts, and Austria beat Spain 1-0. Any other shocks here? Any other weirdness? I guess the big one here would be Switzerland knocking out France. The fact that Switzerland knocked out England and France, by the way, is mad. Who is their best player? Apparently it's Fabian Rieder. He is not very good. We're at this weird point now where I'm waiting for the Ryan Hunter sale to go through, but truth be told, I think I'm all done with my transfer business. Alanis and Diallo are going to be at the Olympics. You know that whole idea of playing Alanis to start the season? I don't think he's going to be here when we have Conference League qualifying games. But really, yeah, we are just waiting on the Ryan Hunter sale for £12 million. I did look at getting Baranok moved on. No one wanted him, so we're loaning him out again. I was just looking at my under-21s. I don't have a youth goalkeeper anywhere. I might go sign one, but I don't feel like that has to be in this video. We have a first-team squad of 26 players, so unless I wanted to sell anyone, I don't really feel like there's a need to sign anyone. And when I look at the current team, I'm happy. I think we've made improvements in the areas we needed to make them in. Obviously, Rios has come in, Copo's come in, Grassa's come in. Yeah, I feel like we've added a bit of quality where it was needed. I'm just excited for the season to start now. Also, pre-season, we've got Wimborne in our next game. You might remember Wimborne from the non-league days. I think they have the 2nd or 3rd worst away day score in Jacta's and away day history. Was not a good one. And right on cue, Hunter transfer confirmed. Another £12 million in the bank. £12 million that I don't really know where to spend it. We probably won't spend it. We've made £97 million in sales, and they're just the sales that have happened since the season ticked over. Who knows, maybe for FM23 they will have fixed this, because of course Hag also left us. That was another £19 million. So our total sales this year, close to £120 million. And if we add in the transfers that we signed, we've got Rios Copo, that's 40 million roughly, 50 million here, and then 44 million. I think we've made a profit of like £25 million in transfers this summer, which is mental because I feel like the squad is in such a better spot now. Of course, whilst we are edging out transfer profit, I think because I put money back into the wages, that has resulted in the transfer budget staying largely the same. But we've got £105 million in the bank, and I think we're done. Of course, naturally, because this is Football Manager, a team will bid on Lemos between now and next episode, and the 20-year-old will be looking to force that move that I desperately don't want him to do. But at least right now, I'm going to remain optimistic he will be here to start the season. You know what's funny? Football Manager is incapable of listing all the transfers in and out by season on the transfer page. But if you come to the confidence page, it has all the transfers just on a single screen. Yeah, I don't understand this game either. Anyway, folks, we will leave things there for today. Next episode, we are going to be trialling out our new tactics and giving our new signings a whirl. We are going to be playing in the Conference League qualifiers. I think for it, we are going to do a whistle-stop tour of both qualifying rounds, assuming we make them through comfortably. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. If you did enjoy today's episode and you're excited for the next one, make sure to leave a like on this video. We will be back tomorrow to end your week with some further Park to Prem action. Let me know what you think of the transfers down below. And until next time, it is me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.